and the Nuggets. But let's start with a little three-point performance, shall we? This three-point performance is brought to you by Mountain Dew, and although three-pointers haven't been dropping as much in their last two games, the 76ers have found success from beyond the arc when shooting off a pass from the one Ben Simmons. He's assisted on 57 three-pointers this season, and how about this? The only player with more is LeBron James. And welcome in NBA Countdown Home Team, coming to you from their homes. We've got Jalen Rose, Jay Will, and Adrian Wojnarowski. 3 out of the 4 of us are wearing turtlenecks. It's a real thing right now. We're going to work with Woj to get one. But guys, I want to start with the 76ers and specifically Joel Embiid. He's one of 4 players right now averaging 25 points and 10 rebounds. Jalen, what has changed in his game, if anything, this season?
So the beauty of basketball is it can make all of your goals and dreams happen. But also it can break your heart. And it's happened to Joel Embiid and the Sixers the last 2 postseasons. The way they lost to Kawhi Leonard's game winner, and then last year being swept by the Boston Celtics. And then you see Hinkie leave, you see your former coach Brown leave, and all of a sudden the process is still processing, and you know you're on the clock. And he's playing like a top 10 player, a dominant one, playing closer to the basket like we anticipate. Let's see if he can continue to stay healthy and keep it up throughout the playoffs.
And you know what, Jay Rose? You know what I'm not hearing about Joel Embiid? I'm not hearing about any off-the-court issues. I'm not hearing about immaturity. I'm not hearing about hazmat suits. I'm not hearing about any of that stuff. I'm just paying attention to what's happening on the court because Joel Embiid has been paying attention to what's going on the court. And that's the most important part. When he's committed to this game, when his conditioning's at a high level, and when he feels comfortable to be Joel Embiid constantly, he is an MVP candidate. He is this guy that can take over the course of a game, and we saw him do that the last game against the Celtics.
Well, look, Jay, you need a hazmat suit if you're going against Joel Embiid. 42 points, 10 rebounds in Wednesday's matchup against the Celtics. But right now, the 76ers, they're 10-5. Is this finally that Philly team that we've been expecting to see for an extended period of time, Jay?
You know, I think it's a team that's going to contend in the East. It's just hard for me, Maria, when I watch Kevin Durant, who's having an MVP type season, shooting over 50% from the floor, averaging 30 points per game. When I watch James Harden have triple doubles, seeing Kyrie Irving come back, even though they lost in that other game against the Cavs the other night when Colin Sexton went off for 40 points. But it's going to be hard to beat that Nets team in a 7-game series. But I do like the way that the 76ers team is actually trending. It seems like they're playing like a team, and we'll see how Doc continues to unlock his team as the season moves forward.
I can't front, Jay Will. Imagine if Harden was getting traded to the Eastern Conference, except he was teaming up with Embiid, and they got a chance to play against KD and Kyrie, Tatum and Brown. That run would be more fair. Now that those 3 guys are with the Nets, KD, Kyrie, and Harden, it's unfair. And especially if Ben Simmons isn't going to make shots outside of the paint. Once the playoffs come, you know this. I see the trophies in your living room. You're going to need your primary ball handler to make shots and to make free throws. He hasn't been able to do so. Let's see if that comes back to haunt the team this year.
Well, Jalen, you brought him up. So elsewhere in the NBA ether, let's go ahead and get to it. The Nets triple threat will be taking another shot at the Cleveland Cavaliers after Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden combined for 96 points in their debut double overtime loss in Cleveland this past Wednesday. Now, Durant will sit out tonight for rest. He played 50 minutes on Wednesday. Kyrie and Harden are both expected to play, but I think that brings up a good question about depth, and they still have 3 roster spots, Woj, after the Harden trade. How do the Nets want to move forward in filling out the rest of their roster?
Maria, I'm told the Nets started to fill one of those roster spots today. Big man Norvel Pell is going to sign with the Nets once he clears protocol, pass his coronavirus test over the next few days. But Sean Marks, the Nets GM, he's out there in the marketplace trying to find size and trying to find defense. And they have a couple roster spots. Doesn't have to fill them right away, Maria. But this team knows it has to get better defensively. And you're going to see that reflected in the kind of players that either by trade or free agency or buyouts, players who may be available out there between now and, past the trade deadline, I think that's going to be Sean Marks' focus.
Yeah, well, you just saw Colin Sexton. He put up 42 points, and you saw him in the highlights, so obviously defense is a big part of this. But Jay, Will, one comment and thing that we talked about last week was who was going to be leading this offense. We saw James Harden had the most touches. He was probably the most ball dominant. We saw Kyrie playing off the ball. Is that the way you envision this offense moving forward? Is that the process that they should have this season?
Yes, 1,000,000%, Maria. I love the ball in the hands of James Harden, his ability to facilitate. He makes the game easy for everybody else. I think actually we're going to see him change the nature of how people look at James Harden with his playmaking ability. And I think Steve Nash has to continue to tweak these lineups. I like when Kyrie Irving starts, but I also would like for him to come out early in the first quarter, and I would like to have those minutes staggered in the second unit. I think Kyrie Irving can be a dangerous utilization in the second unit, and that actually kind of helps with the balance of how you play KD, James Harden, and Kyrie, because you always want to have one or two of those guys in the game at the same time, and then when it comes down to closing time, you have all three.
You can see the touch breakdown there. James Harden leading the way with 108. Jalen, when you look at the big three, we're going to call them the Brooklyn triple threat. What did you think your biggest takeaway was from seeing them all together on Wednesday?
That they're definitely winning the Eastern Conference, and that Kevin Durant, coming back from an Achilles injury, is playing outstanding basketball. That's going to be a mismatch, as we know, on a nightly basis, regardless of where he plays up front. As Jay Williams just acknowledged, and he's exactly right, James Harden should be the primary playmaker. While we see Kyrie as somebody that we want to get 10 assists, we have to respect the fact that, like Steph Curry, like Dame Lillard, these guys can put up big points, and now Kyrie's going to be in a position to try to do so.
Look, the deal is they're must-see TV. I hope you have your league pass. I hope you turn on and watch Brooklyn every single time they get on the court, because it was fun to watch them play the Cavs on Wednesday. And shout out to Cleveland and Colin Sexton with the 42 points. All right, we got plenty more coming from these guys. Woj giving us a COVID update on the other side of the break. But first, we got to see how people are looking walking in to the arena. It's time to check out tonight's Signature Style, brought to you by